Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your boy MagMongoSlade. Today we're going to be talking about AEW Dynamite from November 23rd, November 23rd, 2022, because the 24th is Thanksgiving Day. All right, so we're going to talk about news and notes. Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega say weird things. So let's get into that right now. So the big interview from Sports Illustrated was Kenny Omega, who was doing a post-Full Gear interview with Justin Barrasso. We're going to skip straight to some of the interesting bits of this thing. We're not going to read the whole thing. So it says, quote, the match represented, meaning the match at Full Gear, represented homecoming for Omega and the Bucks, and AEW felt complete again with the three of the company's founding fathers. Oh, well, Justin, was the shoes clean before you kissed them? Anyway, Omega says this: we knew we had to make it special for the fans. It felt like we left people in limbo, so we had to come back emphatically. Our goal is to make wrestling feel like a rock concert. We want people to focus entirely on the match, and whether you were rooting for or against us, we wanted people to enjoy it. As soon as the music hit, we wanted it to be a spectacle. We wanted people to know they were in for a ride. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed the performance. We wanted wrestling to feel like a rock concert. I thought it was supposed to feel like a match. Supposed to feel like a fight. I thought that was the idea. I thought the idea of pro wrestling was that you made it feel like a fight. And yes, you left people in limbo, considering if you didn't know about the backstage brawl, nobody ever talked about it. It wasn't even talked about on air. You guys just disappeared for like 6 weeks and then you came back. So yeah, there were some people left in limbo. Ridiculous. Okay, pretty ridiculous. So Justin Barrasso, of course, asks the question about the brawl. He says, quote, there is rampant speculation surrounding the details of what allegedly occurred, but none of the people involved have commented publicly. Omega was asked for his insight on what transpired, so he had to ask about it. Omega said this: there are things no one can talk about, so I'd encourage people to let it go. It doesn't change that we want a team effort in AEW. I don't even mean implicitly myself and my opponent. It also means the referee, the fans, the people who set up the ring, everyone. Even a technical error can ruin the memory of a match. I can refer back to the exploding barbed wire death match, so I encourage people to move away from it because there is no information to be released. Though I cannot talk about it, I do want the fans to know I still want the best for pro wrestling. In other words, nothing, right? But here's the big picture. We all know by now that being the elite supercut the fuck CM Punk chants all over that episode. And they were in the ring hyping up the fuck CM Punk chants. And now when asked about it directly, it becomes, well, we encourage people to move on. We encourage people to move on. We encourage people to not talk about it, but we're going to do it for our vlog. We're going to talk about it for our blog. We're just going to let people chant fuck CM Punk for our blog. But we encourage you to move on. We encourage you to, go elsewhere for your discussions of what happened with CM Punk. We're not going to talk about it, but if we can take a shot, we will. If we can put out pictures of us backstage with Colt Cabana before his big match with Chris Jericho to let everybody know that we were there supporting him. We had his back. Oh no, but we encourage people to not talk about it. We encourage people to move on from it. Even though Chris Jericho comes out and says stuff, hey, it's better for guys to not be here. We encourage you to move on. Fans, we encourage you to move on. Basically, stop asking us about this. We're not going to talk about it. We signed NDAs. Nobody's going to talk about it. We encourage you to move on. Oh, except for being the elite. They don't have to move on. They can supercut fuck CM Punk onto music videos. Again, they can feed stories to their dirt sheet pals. They can post pictures of them backstage with Colt Cabana, acting like they're the conquering fucking heroes. There's so much for them to do. But we encourage you to move on. What are they talking about, really? All right. Barrasso writes, Omega is one of the most passionate, devoted performers in the entire industry. Oh, my goodness. Yet, for all the pride he takes in pro wrestling, he shared that events from this past Sunday served as a heartbreaking reminder that his goal in wrestling is to unite, not divide. Okay? So, Kenny Omega says this: the day after the pay-per-view, I was absolutely devastated by the loss of Jason David Frank. He's one of my childhood heroes. That evening, there was a mass shooting at LGBTQ club where 5 people died. It's a terrible tragedy. After such a tragedy, that puts everything in perspective. This isn't Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks against CM Punk. It is people trying to show off their craft. You can boo Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks or CM Punk, but I hope people don't forget we're human beings struggling to show our art. Fuck CM Punk. Fuck CM Punk. Oh, we're gonna, again, this isn't Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks against CM Punk. No, it's not that. It ain't that at all, despite the fact that we plastered that shit all over being the elite. It ain't that. It ain't that at all. Despite the fact that, Matt Hardy comes out talking about all these guys, they were the victims in this whole thing. Or I wasn't there. I was. Whatever. It's not Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus CM Punk. We're just struggling to show our art. We're just starving artists, man. He tried to make it sound like he live in a studio apartment, and he's finger painting and shit and going out hustling art pieces. Like, no, you've been getting paid to do this for years. We're struggling to show our art. What the hell are you talking about, brother? Oh my God. Oh man. So he's talking about getting in shape and all this kind of stuff. I don't want to get into that too much. He talks a lot about the match with the Death Triangle. Now here's the interesting thing. He says that in wrestling, they're looking to unite, not to divide. He says this: the Lucha Brothers are known for their lucha libre, and Penta and Phoenix aren't limited to one style. Pac is the same. He can come through the UK Indies and move to Dragon Gate in Japan, which is totally different style, and that includes lucha libre. He wrestled in WWE, which is sports entertainment, and now AEW, which is a hybrid alternative sports entertainment brand. Hybrid alternative sports entertainment brand. That is what AEW is. What on earth is he talking about? I don't know. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. It's very bizarre. It's very, very bizarre. He, of course, talks about the video game. He talks about the Young Bucks. It's a lot of nothing, right? There's not too much there as far as meat on the vine. Just a whole bunch of, we want to make wrestling feel like a rock concert, which, I guess people sing I guess you play the hits at the rock concert, right? So if you just you show up and you play the hits, I guess that's what the Young Bucks do. They just show up and play their hits. Spinning Tombstone Power Driver and Flippity Doo Dah 100 Super Kicks. It's a rock concert. It's not a wrestling match. These guys aren't trying to win. It's not a fight. It's a performance. It's theater. It's theater without the drama. It's like somebody said that, I feel like this is pretty funny, that scripts from NXT look like something out of WMAC Masters, which is great. And I think that was pretty hilarious, except for that's how I feel about Young Bucks matches. That's exactly what they look like. They look like pseudo fight scenes out of like Power Rangers or WMAC Masters or something else like that. Doesn't look like wrestling matches, but that's just me. Speaking of wrestling matches, Bryan Danielson says that he's on his last contract essentially, and that he's pretty much done on this thing. So Bryan Danielson went on the One Fall podcast, which is hosted by Ron Funches apparently, and Danielson said, I would like to wrestle a match 2 weeks before I die, and to not know that was my last match. That would be my ideal situation. I'm not going to be a full-time wrestler for much longer. All that said, I'm not going to be a full-time wrestler for much longer. When my AEW contract is up, that's pretty much me being done as a full-time wrestler. I like the way people like Terry Funk and Jerry Lawler do it, where they do it for fun. They don't do it all the time. They do it here and there, that sort of thing. As long as I have fun doing it and I experience joy doing it, it's something I want to continue doing for the rest of my life. I told you, Danielson is literally Kane in Kung Fu. He's going to scramble his entire brain. It's just going to be wrestling. This is all he's ever wanted to do. Now he's going to do it. Now he's likening himself to Terry Funk. Jerry Lawler, who had a heart attack, and continues to do this. I get it. Jerry Lawler doesn't do it for the money. I hope Terry Funk doesn't do it for the money, even though I know I think he has dementia now or something like that, so he can't do it. But I hope these guys weren't doing it for the money. So he says this, he continues. One of the things that was brought to my attention when I was forced to retire is that you never know when your last match is going to be. The last match I had before I was forced to retire, I didn't know that was going to be my last match, and then it was. And I don't know until 2 months later when they were like, I don't think we're going to let you come back. Then it turned out not to be my last match. I went years thinking it was my last match, then it wasn't. I don't have any vision of what I like my last match to be. I certainly don't envision it being some epic match everyone talks about. In my mind, it would be a match that I'd be doing at some local indie in front of 300 people. Okay, I'm just going to go out and have fun. And it turns out to be my last match. That's how I envision it. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. I don't know what kind of brain injury can you possibly have where you want your final match to be at a crappy indie show in front of 300 people. Now, clearly he was probably joking. But at the same time, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, people are going to take this guy seriously. Like, I know Danielson likes to rib. He's a big old ribber. Like he's a ribbing guy. But he should not be saying stuff like this. And to be quite honest, hopefully his wife listens to this, and if she got any stroke at all with this guy, she would handcuff him to the radiator so he won't, continue to bump himself into early onset Alzheimer's or whatever, and she can actually stop him while he's somewhat functional. Now, I do think that near 40, he's already made all the money he's probably going to make. He's already said before that his career is winding down, which, of course, that's true. And that he's not interested in being world champion in AEW. He's interested in working with the young talent, which kind of explains why he's been booked the way he has been, where he just simply doesn't give a shit anymore. But we kind of knew that, because I remember talking about this before he even came to AEW, that he just wants to wander the world and wrestle. That's his whole thing. That's what he wants to do. So if it means he's going to be wrestling, Cornhusker Joe in the middle of somewhere in Iowa for $300 in 2056 or some shit, that's what he wants to do. And it's going to be sad as hell to see him doing it, because I know it's sad as hell watching Jerry Lawler do it. It's sad as hell when I used to watch Terry Funk do it. It was sad to the motherfucker watching Mick Foley take the dick flip from Joey Ryan and stuff like that. That shit's sad as hell. I know some people, they get a kick out of it. Oh, yeah, I get a kick out of watching some of the older wrestlers come out and do the thing. Like, yeah, but then you see, Ricky Morton getting kissed by Effie. And you're like, man, do you need money that bad, really? Like, do you really need money that bad, brother? That you just gotta go out there and get kissed by the weird guy on the Independents? I don't know, man. Do you need to be relevant that badly? I mean, they can't be paying you enough for this. It can't be paying you enough for this. But that's the life of a wrestler, and I think that's what Danielson sees himself. He sees himself as the wrestling wrestler, just like all of these other guys who wrestles to the day that he dies. And I think that for a guy who got as far as he did, he probably should be a little bit smarter about this. But, I mean, what the fuck do I know? I don't know anything about this guy. All right, so the last one for now. Marina Shaffir talked about why the 4 horsewomen versus the 4 horsewomen in WWE didn't happen. How much you want to bet she's not going to mention the fact that she fucking sucks? That's not going to come up at all, right? Right. So I'm pretty sure that you can guess. She ain't going to say at all that, well, it didn't happen because we're fucking trash. So here's what she had to say. Egos were at play. She's talking to Renee Paquette. Egos were at play. There's too many fucking cooks in the kitchen sometimes, in more ways than one. I just feel like professional wrestling was a little more exclusive back in the day. It wasn't just about politicking. It was about really showing respect and not kissing ass and not feeling like you have to give up something of yourself to take it to the next level. So she's saying it without saying it. that maybe there were some egos on the other side. And I can tell you at least one of the four horsewomen, maybe two, who's got pretty big egos, Bayley not being one of them. Bayley said, egos, the fuck? I'm humble as pie. Who wants a damn slice? It's pumpkin season. Clearly, the idea being, of course, for starters, professional wrestling was a little bit more exclusive back in the day. Yeah, in the halcyon days of 2016, literally 6 years ago. You talk about pro wrestling being exclusive, you're talking about the fucking 50s and 40s and shit. You know, wrestling been pretty inclusive since the 80s, thereabouts. Since a guy didn't have to have an amateur background to get into the business, yeah, it's been pretty fucking inclusive since then. You could be a fucking golfer and be a wrestling now. You could be a theater student or a gymnastics guy. You could be a model and get into wrestling now. Yeah, it's super, super inclusive now. A little too inclusive. Exclusivity would have been years ago. Now, maybe that's what she's talking about. Maybe she's saying, well, we're all former MMA fighters. That doesn't mean that we're actually any good. But we're all former MMA fighters. And these chicks are just pro wrestlers. Now, we know that Sasha Banks is who she is. And Sasha Banks don't even want to work with Ronda. So I can see this situation maybe being pitched. And Sasha Banks is like, who's going over? They're going over. Not me. Count me out. You know? I can see that happening. I can see Charlotte grumbling about that too. The other two, Becky probably wouldn't be thrilled about it, but you know, if it'll help the business, she'll probably go down for it, and Bayley just happy to be there. So, what about the other side? Do you really see Jessamyn Duke and Marina Shaffir on the same level as fucking Sasha Banks and Bayley? And no. It didn't happen because you people fucking suck and you couldn't get out of NXT. It has nothing to do with egos. Because if it was just egos, then you would still be on the roster, but you would be in a different position. No. It didn't work because you people fucking suck. You're trash and a half. I don't know what else to tell you. And to be quite honest, I think it's kind of embarrassing for her to go out there and say egos without just saying, you know, maybe we didn't get to that level, which is probably the best response that she could have had. But trying to say egos implies that somebody didn't want to put things aside. They didn't want to do business. It's like, why should they do business with trash, refuse, guano, shit? You know, why should they do business with you people? They shouldn't. You suck. Fuck you. Enjoy your AEW contract. You know, congratulations. Speaking of AEW contracts, our boy Andrade and AEW, look at me, posted some cryptic stuff on his, I think it's his Instagram. Yeah. Where he says, I just want to say thank you. Bye. And I got people chitter-chattering about whether he's gone or not. Andrade, some nerd, some dweeb. I'm about to find this tweet real quick. All right, so the dweeb in question is called at Gifted Money. So he posted that Andrade signed with AEW on June 4th, 2021. In 18 months, he's had 26 matches. 26 matches in a year and a half. And we all know that Andrade El Idolo, look at me. He got suspended for apparently putting a paws all over one Samuel Guevara. This was several weeks ago, so who knows if he's actually going to be back or not. When questioned about our buddy Andrade El Idolo, Tony Khan once again acted like he's not in control of what. It was the exact same thing that happened when he was talking about, when people asked him about booking FTR. Like, you know what, guys? I would really like to see these guys there. I don't know who I can talk to get them to show up. I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do? Who do I call to get Andrade and Miro on my show? This is exactly what he said, as a matter of fact. I want to, never mind. You know, but it was in the Full Gear scrum. It was ridiculous. It's absolutely insane that this guy has been pretending that he can't control his roster. Like, he doesn't know what's going on. And it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. And nobody presses him on this. He just gives people shitty ass responses. Oh yeah, I tried really hard to get FTR on the show. Oh yeah. I would love it if Andrade showed up for work. I would love it if Miro showed up for work. Yeah, that would be great. It would be great, wouldn't it? It's like, what? Book them, you asshole. Maybe if Andrade was busy, performing, doing stuff, preparing promos or working through matches, he wouldn't have time to beat up your other fucking guys on the roster. I would think so. He ain't got time to kick Sammy Guevara's ass if he's busy. Maybe the idle hands of the Devil's Playground, amigo. Maybe he just got bored and decided to shoot his own angle. It's like, I don't get it, man. Hopefully this is Andrade leaving. I will say that because I'm just going to go out there. I'm a fan of Andrade. I liked him in WWE. My only issue was that I didn't think he was connecting because of the language barrier. But if you put him with people, and my God, if you put him with Legado del Fantasma, like if him and Santos Escobar could be on the show at the same time, I'm telling you, with Andrade's work and Escobar's voice, it could be perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's the only thing I'm talking about here. And it's the chance of him coming back to WWE is probably pretty slim because he didn't really like the schedule. But, I mean, him hanging out in AEW is doing what? He went from working too much in WWE because they were doing house shows to barely working at all in AEW. And, who knows what the structure of his contract is. He might not work enough to earn bonuses or anything like that. Not to mention AEW friendly media like Dave Meltzer was taking the shit on him when he first came back because he wasn't working the exact same style he was when he left. Which, to me, it wasn't that much of a difference. But to them, it was this world of difference because he had put on some muscle or he had put on some weight or whatever. But the AEW friendly media didn't like him, or they were downplaying him. And they continue to do so. But I think the guy has an incredible presence. He's got incredible charisma. They just don't know what to do with him. The problem has always been with Andrade is the presentation. The guy just looks like money. And even if he was a mannequin, you can make money with a mannequin in wrestling. Fucking Kenny Omega wrestled a blow-up doll. You can make money with mannequins. And if they look good enough, you can make money with mannequins. Right? There's been plenty of guys in the business that have been like 99% look. Lex Luger is one of them. If Andrade just ended up being Mexican Lex Luger, that's perfectly fine with me. But as it turns out, he can actually work. So he's not Mexican Lex Luger. The issue is just going to be getting him over with an audience that doesn't speak the same language he speaks. And AEW is not going to put forth the effort. And plus, they don't really build characters in AEW. They don't do that. He's been in WWE. Who knows if he actually wants to go back or not. But, the guy's a huge missed opportunity. I hope he is leaving. I'm going to go on record and saying, I hope he is leaving. But I can pretty much tell you, Tony Khan is not going to let that happen. He's going to try to keep these guys around forever. He's probably going to talk him into coming back, which is, to work to finish his contract, which is the right thing to do. If he signed a contract, he should fulfill it. But Andrade's been unhappy for like the last, 5 months? 6? He's only been there for a little over a year. He's already like miserable. Again, these people work 1 day a week. 1 day a week. And they are this is one of the most miserable locker rooms in the business. They only work 1 day a week. Jesus H. Christ. All right, let's finally get into this show. All right, one more note because I can't leave this one out. Colton Gunn absolutely torches Jungle Boy. Now, I wasn't going to mention this one at all, but considering when I looked, it was gone, which means it was a tweet, delete situation, which means there was probably some truth to it. So let's get into it. So Colton Gunn, there was a comment that was made by Colton Gunn saying that Jungle Boy wanted to be a gun so bad. That's basically what he said on Twitter. So Jungle Boy responds that he prefers being booked on pay-per-views Kind of like saying that the Gunn boys are not booked on the pay-per-view, which is true. Colton Gunn then responds, I guess if we changed with the Bucks and stayed up until 6 a.m. with the boss, we could get a spot too. Torched him. Absolutely torched him. This tweet was taken down. So it tells you there's probably just a smidgen of truth to it. Maybe not much. Now, we know the AEW boy. These guys are really tired of the schmoozing, aren't they? These guys are really, really tired of the nepotism going on backstage. They're sick of it. And every single one of them, if he gets an opportunity to throw a hook, he's taking it. So Colton Gunn, I don't know if that's the older Gunn brother or the younger one, but he went after him. That was great. We knew already that Jungle Boy was friends with the young Bucks, but we got more of it now. Now somebody would say, I think somebody said it was playful banter, but if it was playful banter, why did they take it down? Look, Jungle Boy was on the pay-per-view because Tony Khan put him on the pay-per-view. That's the single reason he was on the pay-per-view. That was it. There was no magic spell. It was just, hey, I booked you in a storyline, therefore you will be at the pay-per-view. Versus guys that I did not book to be in a storyline that will make it to the pay-per-view. Now, if he has friends that he's giving favors to, or they're connected, then they're more likely to be on the pay-per-view, which is, it is what it is. Again, wrestling is a nepotism business. Guys agree to do jobs for each other. They agree to work with one another. It is what it is. We know that the Young Bucks, like Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, they've been holding their hand the entire time they've been in AEW. So, of course, they made sure that their feud made it to pay-per-view. 2 pay-per-views, as a matter of fact. And I have no problem with it. I think it's funny. Yes, the Gun Club are really trying to work very hard to get over, and they're not really getting a lot of TV time. They're not getting a lot of wins either. But this isn't a business of you work hard, you get what you got coming. Not all the time. Sometimes it happens that way. Sometimes it doesn't. This is a business where the boss puts the belt on his son. The boss holds the belt for himself for 10 years or whatever. And then he drops the belt to his son. And his son is the champion for another 5 years or whatever. That's kind of the crap we've been having in this business for a long time. Like, none of these people are Tony Khan's son. But most of them might be his friends. So, I'm okay with it. People are going to say it's friendly banter back and forth, but it was friendly banter, then why did they take it down? He could have just said it was a joke, stop being the mark or whatever. He didn't. He took it down. So, we'll see if that turns into anything. All right, so let's get into this show. I promise this time we're going to talk about the show. William Regal starts the show by saying MJF is not here. He gets a lot of heat. Even a fuck you Regal chant, which I don't think he deserves. You should never really say fuck you to Regal. I mean, it's not like people were booing MJF anyway. You were already cheering him. That's why these things don't make any sense, right? Like, we're going to boo Regal for fucking over Moxley, but we were okay with it because we cheered MJF winning because we were cheering MJF the whole match anyway. So none of this makes sense, right? So the fuck you Regal chant, Regal called it very uncouth. He said that MJF is out doing movies, not going to be here this week. They're going to hear from MJF next week. Moxley came to the ring. It literally took him forever. Danielson jumped in the ring looking like he's really looks like a garden gnome. Like, I've said this before, that's a run-of-the-mill joke. But with that hat he was wearing, it literally looked like something you might have gotten out of Hobby Lobby or something like that. It's absolutely tremendous. So Danielson tries to explain to Moxley why he should not beat up William Regal. So Danielson says that we've all done bad things. You've done bad things. I've done bad things. That William Regal has a bad neck, had 2 brain bleeds. You can't do too much to him without basically killing him. Then he slapped Moxley to get his attention and apologized, and said that his dad struggled with the same problems that Moxley had. And the only person who understood was Regal. The only person who could help him understand his dad was William Regal. And because William Regal helped him understand, he was able to love his dad for the last 10 years that his father was alive. And that because of this, he loves Regal and doesn't want to see Regal get hurt. Then he says, imagine someone teaching your daughter to love you. I love this man. Moxley continued to fume a little bit in unbelievable fashion. He just wants to go on vacation, y'all. So he gets on the microphone and he tells Regal he wants Regal to run. He says, I want you to run and I want you never to come back. And he basically excommunicates William Regal from AEW? I don't know. But Danielson's promo got a bullshit chant because people were not buying it. Okay, look. Let's all right. Let's take a moment. For starters, we're gonna talk about what MJF has been doing so far. Him in this Conor McGregor argument that he's having on Twitter, which is hilarious. All of that is pure genius, by the way. But Danielson trying to stop Moxley from beating up William Regal. Because William Regal cannot take bumps, you have to do something, right? You can't have Moxley come in and not beat up William Regal. He should want to, he should threaten to, but there has to be a reason why he doesn't. Now, you could say this wasn't a strong enough reason for him not to beat up William Regal, but I appreciate that the attempt was there. You know, I appreciate that the attempt was there. I appreciate that we tried to do something to calm Moxley down and didn't really work. But the banishment can sometimes be just as offensive as beating him up. So we know that William Regal can't take bumps. So we put him in a position where he really couldn't take bumps. Nobody's going to be there to protect him. So they put Danielson there between him and Moxley. I appreciate that. All right. Okay. They wanted to tell the story. The story was interesting. The crowd shit on it. It was anticlimactic because it ended with Moxley just saying, get out of here. And then William Regal actually leaving. But it was a situation where how else is it going to go? Is William Regal going to say, no, I'm not going to leave? And then that's going to force Moxley to put his hands on him. And you can't do that. He's probably not going to be medically cleared to do anything. So they really didn't have much of a choice. That being said, maybe Moxley should have beat up Danielson. I don't know. But I think the crowd was waiting for Moxley to hit William Regal anyway. And that was not going to happen. That was not coming. So I understand why it fell flat for some people. But generally speaking, I would give them a pass because it was a good story that they told. Moxley being angry at Regal. And Danielson kind of talking him down, saying, hey, he's an alcoholic just like you. But he was able to overcome it. He made some mistakes. You know, of course, not really addressing it. Danielson didn't even dress down Regal for what he did. He didn't even address what Regal did. And I think that's part of a problem. He should have at least addressed his disappointment in what William Regal did. But he didn't. So they was just trying to write Regal off, which is what I'm guessing that they were doing here, because I don't see what else he could do. He was, and Regal, for his credit, was out there like Mr. MJF, which I thought was great. Mr. Friedman, he sounded like Batman's butler. Mr. Wayne, Master Bruce, Master Friedman will be here shortly. Anyway. So what is old Master Friedman? What has he been up to lately? Well, he has been getting into arguments with your boy Conor McGregor on this here Twitter machine. It is absolutely dumb because it didn't really work out for him. It didn't really work out for him. So it ends up on TMZ Sports that MJF got into it with some guy named Paddy Pimblett. I have no idea who this person is. I have no idea who the fuck Paddy Pimblett is, or why I'm supposed to know who he is, or why I'm supposed to care who he is. Is he an MMA fighter? Is he, I don't know, somebody's uncle or somebody's cousin, or I don't know. I'm guessing he's some kind of Irishman because his name is Patty, for Christ's sake. But it goes back to, I guess, UFC. So this Patty Piblet guy says, I do have knowledge about MMA though, don't I? Which you have zero knowledge about, so let's not go there. If you want to have a real fight, let's sort it out with the UFC, if not, pipe down. Oh, tell your boss to sign me up when yous come to Fulham ground. I'll be ready, son. MJF says, hey, bud, AEW has a show coming up in your neck of the woods. If you're man enough, I'll gladly show you how real I am. And he adds Tony Khan and Dana White. This Patty Piblet guy says, I've just said that, you spaceman. Don't act as if you're calling for it. I've just told you straight, when yous come Fulham's ground, Craven Cottage, get your boss Tony Khan to message my boss Dana White and see what we can sort out. Because I know full well you won't pass a USDA drug test to fight in the UFC. MJF says, unlike you, I'm 100% natural and I'm also 100% original. Unlike you. You're a dollar store, Conor McGregor talking. Will from Stranger Things looking ass wouldn't last 2 seconds in my world. Better than you. See you in London. Hilarious, right? Completely cooks this guy. I have no idea who this fucking guy is. But that's my ignorance of me not following UFC that closely. So then Conor McGregor responds, a dollar store Conor is still worth millions. Let's go, young Patty Pimb. Don't know who this other clown is. So absolutely shitting on MJF, AEW, and their world champion, because Conor McGregor has no idea who he is or why they're arguing, and it doesn't make much sense for them to do so. Now, it's pretty funny, you know. So apparently all of this crap, you know, with MJF, him defending the honor of pro wrestling from some upstart MMA fighter. He even had an absolute banger of an interview with ESPN over this thing. So MJF says, I'm sick and tired of people talking about pro wrestling as if it's some fucking stunt show. The fact of the matter is, Patty the prima donna Pimblet would not last 2 seconds in a professional wrestling ring with me. Maybe not even one. This fat moon-faced prick, Will from Stranger Things looking asshole, dollar store Conor McGregor, decided he needed to chirp up and say, oh, wrestling is fake. Let me tell you something. We're real fighters. They are prima donnas. Pro wrestling is a dangerous, dangerous sport, and there is no one more dangerous than MJF. I can assure you, when we come to London in 2023, if Patty shows his face, he's going to find out that a Scouser is no match for a Long Islander, because I'm better than him and he knows it. There's a target on my back at all times. Like I said, if Patty the Batty thinks he can aim at that target and hit it, I am more than game. More than game to knock that guy out. MJF is going hard for pro wrestling, which, you know, I'm not against it. But for Christ's sake, what's the big deal? So whenever an MMA fighter jumps out of their square and starts talking about wrestling being fake, you don't have to get super sensitive and complain about it or talk about it. Or I get it. It's an easy way for some guys to get attention. But to me, it comes across as wrestlers being insecure in what they do. You don't have to be insecure in what you do. You know, MMA fighters, they fight once every quarter. They spend most of their days training. I mean, literally, that's what they do. Boxers spend more time training than they actually do fighting. MMA fighters spend more time training than they actually do fighting. Wrestlers spend more time actually wrestling than they do training. So, for me, I don't see that it's a big issue, you know. I mean, if you're MJF, I never heard of this Patty Pimblett guy. I don't know that much about him. MJF might make more money than this fucking guy. And if you make more, and to be quite honest, I know there's a big thing about MMA fighters and pay and all that kind of stuff. If you make more money than the fucking guy, doesn't matter whether what you're doing is real or not. If this dude is making a lot more money than you and belittling what you do, maybe I can see why you would have an attitude. But an average ass MMA fighter probably doesn't make that much money. And I wouldn't be too concerned about what his feelings are on my profession. So I wouldn't care too much. But like I said, Conor McGregor says that a dollar store Conor is still worth millions. Let's go, young Patty Pim. Don't know who this other clown is. MJF then responded by saying, I'll fuck Conor clone up. Then I'll wipe my ass with the original. Stay in your lane, you roided up leprechaun. You can't hang with the AEW world champion. And I am floored. Look, I know that Conor McGregor actually has an appreciation for pro wrestling, so he gets the banter. He gets it. So I'm not too concerned with Conor McGregor taking this personally. That other retard, I have no idea who he is. But, Conor McGregor is a guy who sees himself, in the mold of a pro wrestler anyway. So I could see him and MJF having some fun with this if that's what, MJF wants to do. That's the work part. This other guy, I'm not so sure what his IQ is. So getting into a debate or an argument with that guy, I just don't see the point in it. I don't know who the fuck he is. Does anybody know who he is? What is his record? I mean, I probably read by his record and didn't pay it no attention. I have no idea who the fucking guy is. But like I said, wrestlers get too sensitive about what they do, and people calling it fake and all that kind of stuff. Like, man, this shit's been going on for fucking 60 years or something like that. Longer, 70, 80 years or whatever. Just don't worry about it. Be secure in what you do. You should, if you really wanted to fuck him up, show him your royalty checks or something like that and say, well, get on my level. When you take enough real punches to the head to buy the house that I have or the cars that I have at the age that I am, because MJF is only 26, then maybe they can talk. But this shit is pointless to me. So this is what MJF is doing rather than being on this show, increasing the ratings of the show. He's too busy arguing with fucking mediocre MMA fighters. Whatever. Stupid. Now, back to the show in question. Keith Lee is wearing a Akatsuki jacket. So it's a Naruto jacket. This guy went from being a Dragon Ball fan to now being a Naruto fan. I don't know, man. He's downgrading. It's the weight gain. I'm sure it's rotting his brain. Then all of a sudden, Swerve comes in, and I realize that Keith Lee is tall, but Swerve is tall too. And if it wasn't for the wide body of Keith Lee, Swerve wouldn't be that much smaller than him. And I was like, okay. I don't know what's going on. Is Swerve standing on a box? Is Keith Lee on his knees? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, Swerve covers up the camera. Says he wants to talk to Keith Lee, and for some reason, Keith Lee is like, well, okay. And decides that he is actually going to talk to a man who smacked him in the face. All right. What's done is done, I guess. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Keith Lee is lost in the shuffle, just like Miro. At least he's on TV, though. Just like Andrade. At least he's on TV. So Keith Lee is at least making television. Maybe Swerve is going to talk him into turning heel. Who knows? But we'll see what comes out of that. Match 1, Jake Hager versus Orange Cassidy. And a match that I had no interest in. I don't think anybody had any interest in it. Buckethead Hager comes out wearing his hat because he wrestles in his hat because he loves his hat, and his hat is everything to him. He had an advantage at one point in the match where Orange Cassidy snatched his hat and threw it. He's, of course, let go of the hold that he was about to put on Orange Cassidy to get his hat. Ended up getting hit with an orange punch, rolled up and pinned. This was absolutely awful. Everything about this is not good. Everything about this is an absolute tragedy. I am not thankful for this. This Thanksgiving Day, what are you thankful for? Not having to watch Jake Hager. I'm not thankful for that. That sucks. They tripled down on the stupidity. Not only do we got Orange Cassidy out here, we got the best friends out here. That's just as bad. Then they tripled down with fucking QT Marshall. Fuck. Thank God the microphone stopped working because we didn't get to hear QT Marshall's voice. The lights go out. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Julia Hart is standing on the stage. I'm like, okay, House of Black. House of Black returns, beat the hell out of the Best Friends. Like, okay, that's nice. Not too bad. Then they beat up the Factory too. All right, cool. Crowd loves these guys. This is great. Malachi gets on the microphone and asks the people who are members of the House of Black to rise. So I'm like, okay, this is good. Malachi Black is back. He's still in that damn trios division, but maybe he's going to be All Atlantic champion now. All right, is the Netherlands on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, or does that not matter? Because I'm hoping it doesn't matter. It would be okay if he was just to beat Orange Cassidy and have that belt. I'd be fine with that. All right, I'll be fine with it for right now. He should probably be in the conversation of being one of the top guys. I'm talking world champion top guys, but we got to start somewhere. So if a condition of him coming back is that he get put in some kind of a prominent position, I'm okay with it. If it has to be the silly TNT title, well, not TNT, but All Atlantic belt, okay. But I would prefer if it was him wrestling MJF for the title, like it should be. Because Malachi Black is at least, he was another guy came in as a heavily touted free agent. Just not going well, whatever. So speaking of number one contenders, we didn't do too bad, y'all. We dodged a bullet of Ethan motherfucking boring ass Page from the Full Gear tournament. Ethan Page gets on the microphone, starts yelling about he's going to make Chicago cry when he beats Ricky Starks, which didn't happen. Praise God. Ricky Starks defeats Ethan Page, is now the number one contender. Will be facing MJF for the world title December the 14th at Winter is Coming. The spot in this match that I found most interesting is Ricky Starks missed a tope suicida. He was all the way off. Ethan Page kind of snatched Stokely Hathaway away from it and just left Ricky Starks to hit the mat. So that was a thing. But Ricky Starks wins, which was the right decision. Always the right decision to go with Ricky Starks. All right, Wardlow. They did a vignette, and Wardlow is just very angry. He's not the TNT champion. Told Samoa Joe that he's not the most dangerous man in the room, and he's not the real TNT champion. That Wardlow is both of those things. And I say that if Samoa Joe knocked you out, he's certainly more dangerous than you. And if he's actually the TNT champion, then he's actually the TNT champion. So Wardlow is neither one of those things. But it ought to be fun to watch Wardlow and Samoa Joe go at it. I'm still holding out hope it's going to be good. Jade Cargill, they showed Jade Cargill having a confrontation with Bow Wow, in which she embarrassed herself by going backstage and getting in Bow Wow's face. This guy's like 5'4". She's a titan in comparison to him. And I think somebody threw some popcorn or something, and then she got immediately taken away. So the angle literally lasted all of 10 seconds. So, I mean, it is what it is. This is a continuance of their online beef that they've been having between Bow Wow and Jade Cargill. Okay, fine. Now, despite this, Jade Cargill says that she has no comment on Bow Wow and that she's not going to give any more clout to that whack-ass rapper. She then said that she's going to have a celebration for retaining her TNT title, but not in Chicago because she's been there and done that. So she's going to go and party instead in Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, I've been to Indianapolis. I've never been to Chicago. I've been to Indianapolis, the Circle City. I've been there. It can be pretty fun. It can be, but it's Indiana. It's literally the middle of nowhere. So if you have an option of partying in Chicago or partying in Indianapolis, I will party in Chicago. I mean, that's just me, especially if I'm a stunner. If I'm a boss, I'm a stunner. It's Chicago. You can always find somewhere to go in Chicago. I mean, I get it. But Indianapolis, all right, whatever. So, Jade Cargill is thankful that Red Velvet is back. She was also pretty salty that she had to win her match on her own without help. So it seemed like Jade Cargill decided she was going to heal up again. After being the babyface for a month, she's now back to being a cocky heel. She is out. She leaves. She takes over. She leaves it to her lawyer or whatever, that smart Mark guy. Mark Sterling says that the official comment from Jade is no comment on Bow Wow. Kiera Hogan tries to follow Jade and is blocked. And she's told she has to sign something because her services are no longer required. She is no longer a baddie. They have fired Kiera Hogan. Now, this could be an interesting storyline that could end up with something interesting and fun. Maybe Kiera Hogan is going to be the one that's going to beat Jade Cargill. We know that's not going to happen. I had to toss the possibility out there. It's not going to happen, but somebody's got to beat Jade Cargill, for Christ's sake. I'm definitely concerned about Kiera Hogan without Jade Cargill. I mean, what is what is she going to do? She wasn't doing anything before the baddie section started. So, I don't know, man. If anything, I think they probably should. What happened to Layla Gray? Was she there? Because that was the one that Jade really didn't like. Kiera Hogan adds a lot to the Jade Cargill package. As far as looking like somebody Jade Cargill will actually hang out with. Kiera Hogan looks like that person. It doesn't really look like she might hang out with Red Velvet. It doesn't look like her and Red Velvet will hang out in the same circles. I just don't see it. Red Velvet is a cute girl and everything, but she's the kind of girl you take home to mama. Not really the partying, nightlife baddie type. She's more like the girl next door. Where Kiera Hogan is more that speed of what Jade Cargill is trying to portray in her character. Being flamboyant and being loud and being sort of sexy and powerful and stuff like that. But they decided to kick Kiera Hogan out. So, well, she's always the bridesmaid, never the bride. We'll see how it turns out. They have to, at some point, craft a story in which Jade Cargill can possibly lose. And I know I just threw it out there that maybe Kiera Hogan will be the one to beat her. And it would be nice little poetry if, somebody who was close to Jade, who knows how Jade trains, who knows how Jade thinks, who spent some time with Jade, would be the one who could beat her. It would be a decent story. But they won't do that because there's likely no money in Kiera Hogan. It is what it is, though. Just a joke. Just saying. I like to pitch storyline ideas. So there's one. There's a free one. All right. Match 2 of the best of 7. The Elite versus the Death Triangle. Death Triangle wins again. This was Troll Job the match. So after Kenny Omega goes out here and starts talking about how he encourages people to get over the CM Punk thing, he encourages people to get over it. They did literally everything possible to remind people of the CM Punk situation, and it ran the absolute gamut of crowd reactions. First, there were loud, visible boos for the Elite when they came out. This later became a CM Punk chant, which then morphed into a chant of "fuck the Elite," which then became a chant of "the Elite," the Elite, to then became a same old shit chant, which then came a "fuck CM Punk" chant. And I was just, my brain was spinning, trying to keep up with how the Elites were just manipulating this audience. They were manipulating the hell out of this audience. And they were doing it with everything possible. You got I think it was Nick Jackson that botched made fun of CM Punk's botched buckshot lariat. Fucking Kenny Omega biting Pac's arm. He's using the GTS. They're trolling the shit out of this audience. And I say this, I'm going to say this, they win. All right, the Elite won. How did they win? Well, they won because they split Chicago. They got Chicago on at least 2 or 3 separate occasions to actually cheer for them. They got people in Chicago to actually chant "fuck CM Punk," even if it was a short amount of time, even if it wasn't that many people. They managed to get these people to turn on CM Punk. Splitting your enemy's quote unquote hometown crowd is a dub. You know, he got him. They got him to do it. So, hey, they won. They we'll see if this continues. I don't know how many times they could do the whole arm biting thing and the GTS and all that stuff. All the mockery. I don't know how long you can get away with that. But the manipulating the crowd and getting the crowd to chant fuck CM Punk and stuff like that, interesting. Now, they lost because Penta cheated. And for some reason, Phoenix was not okay with them cheating. It's like, didn't you cheat on Saturday? Why is it a problem that Penta cheated? I don't know. None of this makes any sense to me, man. All of it just comes across as being ridiculous. I don't understand why we have to keep sitting through these matches. They all look the same. All of them look the same. I couldn't tell you this match from the other one. The only difference is I think they trolled more heavily in this match, certainly with the arm biting and everything, than they did in previous matches. All right. Thunder Rosa is officially stripped of the AEW Women's World title, and it's long overdue. So Jamie Hayter is now officially the Women's World Champion, and retroactively Toni Storm is also the Women's World Champion, former Women's World Champion. So Tony Khan buckled under the pressure of everybody telling him that this interim thing was stupid, and it was. So Thunder Rosa on Twitter says, "Thank you, Thunder Army, for all the support and AEW for being there for me. Dreamlike moments happen in this run. And this is not how I wanted to lose the championship, but you deserve a present champion on to the next chapter." So Thunder Rosa finally gave up the ghost, gave up the belt, and now Jamie Hayter is the champion. Not like it matters. Jamie Hayter is a flash in the pan. I'll keep saying it because I know there's no longevity to this. Just like, at one point, what's the name was the most over woman on the roster? What's her face? The one with the big nose. What was her name? Ruby Soho. At one point, she was the most over woman on the roster. At one point, Sheeta was over. At one point, Riho was over. People was talking about how the bunny was a draw and all this other nonsense. It's all just trolling. Just like everybody thought that Hook was something. Hook has never been off outside of the second match on Rampage. But, the AEW fan base just really tries to overhype people. And Chris Statlander was another one. I actually like Chris Statlander. And Jamie Hayter's a good wrestler, but she is literally nothing else. So I'm just sitting here waiting for the first month or so when the bloom is off the rose, and everybody's going to be sitting back wondering why the hell they even supposedly pretended to care about Jamie Hayter outside of her big old ass. Now, they did a promo segment where Britt Baker essentially took the microphone from Jamie Hayter and said that they weren't even considering the term interim and that they were always going to call Jamie Hayter the real Women's World Champion. That's fine. They're still building up the story for Jamie and Britt that, Britt just won't get out the spotlight and let Jamie live. All right. Then they put out this triple threat tag team match. Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker defeat Anna Jay and Ty Mello and Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue. I did something else during this match, man. There's no benefit to this. Britt Baker won the match. She pinned Sky Blue because the only person in the match she probably could beat. And nobody cares, right? They're doing the Jamie what they did to Toni Storm, and that's just putting her in meaningless matches. At some point, we gotta get out of here. Why not just, do something to try to build up a next opponent? I don't know, man. It's silly. I get it. Maybe they're trying to build up Britt Baker to be the next opponent. Again, they're trying to tell that story. But they could have just did this in a regular tag team match, I guess. But I don't know. Who cares, really? Top Flight, they're backstage bothering FTR. Well, they're not really bothering them. They impressed FTR because Dax Harwood, bald FTR, said so. And that they want Top Flight to take over tag team wrestling in the future like they take over tag team wrestling in the present. Which I just roll my eyes at because these are two guys who were just complaining they couldn't get on TV. How are you taking over tag team wrestling and you can't even get booked, brother? Anyway, Dante, at least I think this was Dante, or was it Darius? I don't know the difference anymore. Said, well, if you're so impressed, defend the Ring of Honor tag team titles against us. FTR was like, sure, whatever, if that's what you like. So FTR versus Top Flight on Friday. Okay, cool. We're staying with stop rushing things. Top Flight is I get it with Top Flight. You're counting the days until one of them gets hurt again. I get that. But take your time. Like, let's see Top Flight win matches. Like, they lost the last match they were in. Why are they getting another title shot? They didn't win anything to get that title shot. And now they're going to fall backwards into another one because the tag team that they're the champions like them. Like, what? Okay. I see they're not doing the rankings anymore. The rankings are done. So I guess it doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter anyway because they don't do rankings for Ring of Honor anyway. So just put some heat on Top Flight, man. Put them over as babyfaces or something. All right, the Acclaimed came out there. They did their stuff. They did a rap. They scissored. They talked trash a little bit. Not much happened. Sanjay Dutt, the most useless man in wrestling, had a pencil behind his ear. He's screaming about something or other. I don't care. Then Jeff Jarrett took over and says that he's going to give Max something to rap about when it comes. He waved his guitar at him. So then Billy Gunn says that, get this old fool off this screen. Then he goes into the whole scissoring thing. There was a huge, loud TNA sucks chant when Jeff Jarrett came on the screen, which it warmed my heart because I was saying TNA sucks when this audience was probably loving TNA. They was probably buying the weekly pay-per-views and talking about how Final Resolution was better than WrestleMania, like all these other idiots, like 05 and 06. If you are a fan of Ring of Honor, you was definitely hyping TNA back in the day. There's probably nobody in that audience, not a single soul, who was probably saying, you know what? I thought TNA sucked back in the day the whole time. Nah, you was hyping it and then you turned on it when it became fashionable to turn on it. Just the same thing they do all the time. But telling Jeff Jarrett TNA sucks, that's interesting. Considering TNA is still around. It's still there. It's dead, but it's there. It's present. The corpse is still there. It's still attracting maggots. Whatever. The main event of the evening was a match that similar to the women's match, I didn't really feel like watching and didn't really care about. Tomohiro Ishii versus Chris Jericho, the Ocho. Jericho wins with the Lion Tamer, in which Tomohiro Ishii flipped him off before tapping out. And I was like, okay, what was the point of that? Usually, if you're going to be defiant, you pass out or something like that. But to say, fuck you, Mr. Jericho. Oh no, I tap out. I submit. I surrender, Mr. Jericho. It's dumb. It's stupid. I lost interest in this match when they started chopping each other in the chest and Jericho kept getting smacked. They kept smacking each other. They kept chopping each other in the chest. I didn't care. Every Tomohiro Ishii match is the same. They all look the same. They all finish the same. I don't think I've ever seen them submit before, so that was new at least. Then we go off the air with Jericho tormenting Ian Riccaboni. And Claudio punching Jericho in the face. So Claudio, who is criminally underutilized in WWE, even I will say that, is now stuck permanently in Ring of Honor death spot, chasing Jericho, if you can even call it a chase, as he just continues to portray honor. I don't know. Who cares? So Jericho and Claudio is not done. I don't see why not, but it's not. So Dynamite was it was what it was, man. To me, outside of that opening segment, I don't feel like they properly built up on anything that came out of Full Gear. Well, I guess the 6-man tag situation is continuing, but that's really it. MJF not showing up to the first show as champion is very awkward. That's just very awkward. Not having Moxley on the show, not having Moxley talk about what happened, not, swearing revenge or anything like that, I don't know, man. Wardlow not being on the show, Joe not being on the show. Well, Joe was on the show, Wardlow was on the show, but they was in backstage promos. Jungle Boy wasn't on this show. It felt like if you wrestled on Full Gear outside of the Elites and Jericho, and I think maybe a couple of other people, you weren't on this show at all. So it was very weird. No Saraya. She beat Britt Baker and just went and hid in a closet. I don't know, like, no Tony Storm to explain, the loss or to talk about the match and how tough it was, or to even come out there and talk about, what it was like to be the real women's champion or something. It's just nothing. It just felt like they moved on from everything either too fast, or they're trying to put off things until next week or the week after or whatever. But you have to maintain the momentum while you have it. And they did what they did, I guess. Instead, they had the Acclaim come out, and the Acclaim they had nothing to say and really nothing to do. And now they're teasing the Acclaim feuding with Jarrett and Lethal. Okay, that's fine. But Jarrett and Lethal fucking lost. They lost to Sting and Darby Allin. They lost. If you were going to put them in a tag team title picture and had them feuding with the tag team champions, maybe they should have won. Oh my God. That gotta be a genius idea. That's high IQ shit right there. If you're going to push Lethal and Jarrett as a tag team that is going to feud with the Acclaimed, then they probably should have beat Darby Allin and Sting. Oh, but they beat Darby Allin and Sting. They can't do that because Darby Allin and Sting are going to be tag teaming with the Great Muta. That's in January, isn't it? Isn't that? It's like a whole month away. I don't get these people. I don't get their plans and their plots and their schemes. I don't understand it. I don't understand Tony Khan and why his wrestlers are embarrassing themselves for messing around with UFC fighters and whack old rappers on Twitter. I don't get that. But they're trying to do what they can to get attention. So I'm going to give it a pass. But this show was not good. It's just another not good episode of Dynamite. I'm not surprised it's not good. I like the Elites trolling, but that was about it. I guess the opening segment was okay. Yeah, I'm wondering what they're going to do with Regal. Is he leaving? Is he sticking around? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Is he going to be the Alfred to MJF's Batman? Master Friedman, would you like some flavored water? I don't know. We'll see. But what do you guys think of this stuff? Like, share, subscribe. Happy Thanksgiving, even to those who are not in the United States. Eat well. Try not to eat too much. Try not to go to sleep too much. I will be at work. So by the time you guys hear this, I will hopefully still be in one piece and wide awake. Thank you guys for your time. Happy holidays, and I'll talk to you guys later.